Watch the ride.
Indeed, this is not a floating disc. It's a semi-floating disc. Okay, sorry for the slight clickbait there, but if you don't know there's a difference between semi-floated and fully floated, or why these things exist anyway, keep watching because I will explain. But be aware you have brake discs like this, they're completely solid, and like this, and this, and now you're like, wait, they're all rears, why are they solid? Well, we'll get to that. But the front on this one is semi-floated, that's semi-floated. This one on a CBR 500R isn't floated, but it's quite different as you can see. Recently I uploaded a video about how to check the braking system on the front of your bike, because I think that entire system is the most important thing on a motorcycle. Some people said they think the front tyre is. Why do you need brakes if you can't go anywhere because your front tyre's flat? I would much rather, I think, have a tyre fail than a brake fail. Just my thought on it. Anyway, in that video someone left a comment talking about movement in floated discs and how they do need movement in them, and this is one of the problems comes when you're trying to explain something to the internet. Yes, they should have some movement in them, but it's a very small amount and it's in a very specific way, and unless I go into great detail as to why that's the way, I don't want to give anyone the idea that there should be movement, because really when you grab it, it shouldn't be noticeable. So unless they're a different type, which we'll get into in this video. So in this video I'm going to cover what semi-floated and fully floated discs are and why they're even a thing. I also need to open this package from Wimoto. As I mentioned, Wimoto is going to help me by sponsoring the videos, supplying me the parts I need. Thank you to Wimoto.com. Links to them in the description. You're amazing. I was going to do this yesterday, but I got delayed doing it, so I was going to do it today instead. And then these turned up this morning. I'm like, yes, perfect, because I don't have to handle dirty old discs. I can show you a nice fresh new ones. Right, everyone, shh, I'm not supposed to show you this yet because they're trying to get more in stock because they sold so many of them. But I'll show you properly in a later video when I fit these discs. But that's a phone holder. Anyway, carrying on, in the box. 2 sets of brake pads. Nice new bolts. Is that enough? 2, 4, is it only 5 per disc? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there is 10. Shouldn't have doubted them. Oh my god, I think they sent me the EBCs. Well, it says EBC. Basically, there's OEM discs and EBCs, which look a lot nicer, and I know they're more expensive, and I was like, look, I can deal with the OEMs, but you know, those EBCs would look it's just so nice on my bike. Fair weather biker on board. That's for a car. That's brilliant. Off to the calf. Thank you. These are very funny. If you drive a van or a car or something, I assume they sell these. They must do. Yeah, they must sell these. If you've got a van, you've definitely got to put that on so people know you do actually ride a bike. Oh, 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 If you're new to my channel, you may not know this, but I used to do metal artwork where I turned old discs and motorcycle parts and brakes and sprockets into clocks of all different types. It's called the Spice 110 Metalworks. You can see my Instagram, you can see everything I ever made on there. I haven't done it for a long time because it just wasn't profitable anymore. I wasn't charging enough and people didn't have the cash. But anyway, side note, that is one of the nicest looking discs I've ever seen. It's beautiful. Time to stop spaffing over these discs and explain floating discs to you. Okay, so as I showed you earlier on, some brake discs are the same material here and here, it's all connected. Very often that is on the rear brake on a lot of bikes, whereas you'll find semi-floated discs like this on the front, because the rear brake's not going to take the same amount of heat that these do, and that's what this is all about, heat. So, as you may know, steel expands with heat, and if you brake really hard, your brake discs, brake rotors, are going to get very hot. Steel expands in all directions. Now, given that this is quite thin, it's only going to expand a little bit this way. But because it's got this much size to it, it can expand a lot outwards. Now, if this was all solid, the middle wouldn't get very hot. The outside would. And then you have a differential in heat and cooling. And over time, it causes stress, which will end up leading to the disc warping, side to side, you know, a wobble in it. Or it can even do a thing called cupping, where the whole side comes in like this. If you imagine that your brake disc isn't flat and your two brake discs come in like this is an extreme version, it's only going to touch on two small points of your brake pads. You're not actually going to get proper braking in that area because it needs to be like that. So to alleviate this problem, and for weight reduction, they made semi-floated discs or floating discs, and I'll explain what the two different types are in a minute. Basically what that means is the carrier, the central portion of the disc, is not connected directly to, as in physically made of the same thing, to the outer part of the disc. In fact, very often this will be a lighter material to what the outer is. And then they're held together by things called bobbins, they can be called rivets, there's all sorts of names. Now if you look at this one, if I can get as close as I can, you see how it looks kind of like a rivet, but in between you see that washer that looks a bit wavy. In floated discs you want to have a little bit of movement left to right. So if we took those washers out, this would rattle a little bit, and that would be a fully floated disc, which I'll talk about more in a minute. This is semi-floated because that washer is a spring washer which holds it in place, but if you put a lot of pressure on this disc, you will get it to move side to side a little bit, and that's what you want, the side to side movement. The front to back movement is bad because as you can imagine, if you brake, every time it's going to go whack, 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 and it's going to eventually destroy the disc. And as I was saying about overheating, because these aren't connected, the outer ring, when it gets hot, can expand out on its own and then contract back on its own, and it means it doesn't want to warp naturally. It's allowed to expand as it wants, and it also means that it's more aligned to a point to your calipers. Not really, but you know, it's a tiny bit. But the point is, it allows for heat to get away, for this to expand without affecting the centre. Now, as I said, they were semi-floated. Fully floated just means you don't have that spring in there at all, and these will rattle around side to side quite a lot, up to 4 mil I believe in some cases, but the point is it's always side to side. There is not supposed to be front and back movement, and this was the problem in my video. Technically yes, floated discs should have some movement in them, but it shouldn't be so much that you notice it, which is why I explained in my video, if you grab hold of the disc and pull it like backwards and forwards, if you notice it rattling, then it's way gone. You shouldn't be able to notice the movement in it, because in a semi-floated disc like this, it should be held in place by those spring washers. If it was a fully floated disc, then I probably wouldn't be explaining this to you, because you use those mostly on the track. Most of the time, this sort of problem isn't going to hit road riders, because you're not getting your brakes that hot compared to being on a track where you're, you know, up to full speed, hard on the brakes, full speed, hard on the brakes, just constantly. Okay, some of you might like ride like that on the road, but even then, traffic happens. So statistically, you're not going to have the same chances to heat it up that much. So solid discs are made all the way through of the same material. Semi-floated are the same as floated. The only difference is that there's no washer in it, so it has more rattle in it, and it'll sound rattly if you actually held onto one. It's there to help with heat dissipation and allow for expansion and contraction of the outer braking surface without it warping as easily as a solid disc. That's all they are. And hopefully that should explain everything you need to know. So I'll show you slightly closer. This part here is like a tube with a flange on it that goes through, and then they put the washer on, and then this part, and then you can see it's been rolled over, it's been riveted, so this is clamped together. The floated ones, fully floated, very often have a C-clip on these, or some custom ones have a C-clip that you can take off so you can actually take the disc and the carrier apart. That's basically it. But you can see it's just taken me a couple of minutes to explain that in front of you, whereas if I was doing it in my other video, it would have added a lot more to it, and it's a side tangent of a technicality, because there's so many technicalities you could go into, but as a general rule, you shouldn't notice your floating discs moving. And as I say, if you say to someone a little bit of movement's okay, they'll then turn that into 10 mil of movement and think it's still okay, and then something can go wrong. And I do feel responsible for the information that I give out, so I want to make sure that it's as safe as possible, and I have to consider how that's going to be interpreted by everyone rather than just people who know about this stuff or have ideas about how it actually works, even if it's not the case. But that is that, and they are beautiful, and Wiimoto is amazing. There you go. If you found that video interesting or useful, do hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. Share it with anyone you think might like it. Huge thanks to my Patreon and YouTube members. I've got some cool stuff coming up soon. Obviously I need to do a video fitting these to the bike. I'm going to do a video turning the old discs into clocks, and I will sell those. I need to get to 100 at some point. I got to like 96. And I got a couple of other bits on the boiler. So, should be good. Catch you next time.